Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Ever feel like your smartphone is completely running the show instead of, the other way around? Well, today we're tackling exactly that. We're going to dive into a super practical, science-backed plan to shift your brain out of passive screen scrolling and back into laser focus. We are building a totally executable, low-cost digital detox strategy today, and we'll cover all the specific steps, from setting up your daily boundaries to actually building long-term habits using a really simple framework: diagnosis, detox, and design.
So here's our exact roadmap for today. We'll start with diagnosis, move right into detox, then hit boundaries, design, and wrap it all up with growth. Let's get right into it.
Kicking things off with step 1, diagnosis, understanding your brain on screens and the neural shift that's currently happening.
Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand right off the bat that your lack of focus right now, it isn't some sort of personal moral failure. Honestly, it's just a biological response to modern algorithm design. We are crossing a huge behavioral divide today. We really have to shift our tech habits away from what's called ritualistic use, which is automatic, driven by algorithms, and literally designed for escape, and get back to instrumental use, which is purposeful, task-driven, and actually helps you hit your goals.
What's really fascinating is how this neurological damage is completely mapped out by the iPace model, which gives us a very clear biological timeline for recovery. First up is desensitization. Basically, your baseline for joy gets ruined, and you need endless scrolling just to feel normal. Resetting that takes about 3 to 4 weeks of detox. Next is sensitization. That's the crazy muscle memory that forces you to unlock your phone without even thinking. It takes a solid 15 days for that impulse to drop significantly. And finally, there's prefrontal cortex degeneration, which causes severe loss of focus. Rebuilding those neural connections, that takes a full 90 days.
All right, moving on to phase 2, detox. This is all about taking immediate action and breaking that neurological loop.
To actually break that loop, our magic number is 72. Yes, 72 hours. This 3-day effect is the clinical gold standard required to drop your cortisol levels and force that overtaxed prefrontal cortex to finally hit the reset button. But listen, here is the catch. If you cave and check your phone for non-emergencies during this window, boom, you reset the clock straight back to 0.
Now, during this first couple of days of your 72-hour reset, you're probably going to feel this massive void. Dr. Anna Lembke suggests combating that empty feeling with a concept called hormesis. In plain English, it means you're basically paying for your dopamine surge up front with a bit of physical effort, rather than swiping a credit card and borrowing it from a smartphone algorithm.
So, to healthily satisfy those acute dopamine cravings during your detox, try these completely free, super immediate actions. We're talking taking a freezing cold shower, dropping to do 20 push-ups, or even just deep cleaning a neglected room. These actions force your body to literally work for its reward. It gives you a highly sustainable release of dopamine without frying your receptors all over again.
Of course, let's be real, the urge to check your screen is still going to hit you like a ton of bricks. When it does, I want you to employ the 15-minute delay rule. Don't tell yourself no, just tell yourself not yet. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Almost every time, the physiological wave of that craving will naturally wash over you and recede before the timer even goes off. You'll probably find you don't even want to pick up the phone anymore.
Okay, on to section 3, boundaries. It's time to set up physical limits and create some digital friction in our daily routines.
Once you've survived the initial detox, you have to engineer your environment for success so you don't immediately relapse. We call this adding digital friction. First, turn your screen to grayscale permanently to absolutely kill that visual reward. Next, charge your phone entirely outside the bedroom and buy a cheap analog alarm clock instead. You'll also want to establish strict phone-free meal times and start using aggressive app blockers to mechanically lock yourself out during your work hours.
Now, obviously, you'll still need screens for work or studying. We can't just throw our laptops in the ocean. But to protect your brain during that necessary screen time, rigidly follow the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look at a natural object 20 meters away for 20 seconds. It sounds almost too simple, but this specific act activates your parasympathetic nervous system and drastically reduces your cognitive fatigue.
All right, moving into phase 4, design. This is where we focus on that 66-day habit reshaping and actually building long-term systems.
So how do we actually make these new boundaries permanent? First off, forget that old 21-day myth you've heard. A massive study out of University College London proved it takes an average of 66 days for a habit to become truly automatic. And keep in mind, there's a ton of individual variation here. Depending on your unique wiring, it can take anywhere from 18 to 254 days.
But honestly, here is the absolute most liberating takeaway from that study. A lot of apps will reset your streak to 0 if you just miss one day, right? Well, your brain doesn't erase your neural progress. Consistency always beats perfection. If you slip up one day, don't spiral. Just shake it off and get right back on track the very next day.
To successfully make it to that 66-day mark without totally draining your willpower, you've got to lower the friction using the 2-minute rule. Just anchor a tiny micro-habit to an existing, rock-solid daily routine. For example, instead of committing to reading a whole chapter of a book, just commit to reading one single paragraph immediately after you finish your morning coffee. Easy, right?
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Growth. Building deep learning to replace the void.
You see, you can't just rip out a bad digital habit and leave nothing behind. That just leaves a huge void. You have to actively replace it. By using an active deep learning framework, you essentially bulletproof yourself against relapsing into passive scrolling. Step 1, consume high-value material. Step 2, translate it using the Feynman technique, which just means rewriting the concept in simple, everyday language. And Step 3, connect it using a card box method, linking the new idea to your existing web of knowledge. Doing this triggers a genuine intellectual dopamine rush that algorithms literally just cannot compete with.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with one thought to chew on. Your focus is absolutely your most valuable currency, period. So, when you finally stop letting algorithms spend it for you, what exactly will you choose to build with your reclaimed focus today? Thank you so much for joining me, and hey, I challenge you to start your 72-hour reset right now.